Academy, and it's going to be a fun one. We got 2 top-of-the-table teams. We had Immortals coming off a rough last week, and talking about a little bit more about Dignitas. That squad looking mighty fine as we're going to bring up their rosters.
See, I look at Dignitas, and I love this team because we talked about it a little bit before, alluding to the coin flips and how I love, playing for these early plays and being willing to risk it for the biscuit. And Dignitas are that team. They are fun, they are chaotic, they're crazy, but you look at how they play. You look at Eclipse and how he plays in this top lane. He is willing to fight aggressively early. XU too. These plays, these invades, these ganks, just right out of the gates, always sets the tone for how Dignitas' games are going to go.
And Dignitas have been the surprise of the Academy split. I think unanimously, everyone had this team as being a bottom 2, bottom 3 team. And they're sitting tied for second in the standings at 5-3. They've been putting together some good games. What I like the most about Dignitas, yes, XU is driving the early games. He is the catalyst of this team. But when they pull the trigger, they've been doing it together. And I really think that's why they're further up in the standings than what a lot of people expected in this early season, because they are playing as a team. When they go in as a team. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, and on the other side of the table, you have Immortals Progressive, who started the season on such high highs. The team was just functioning so well together, and to drop the ball last week, they were all feeling it. You could see it on social media. You could see it just kind of the way they were adapting to the situation. This week, fresh page, you got to come in. You got to come in swinging.
And for Immortals, I know that talking with Joey about last week, he said, honestly, going 0-4 was a help to us. I think that it really forced Immortals, and kind of what he was saying was we had to practice more comps. We had to start to figure things out for ourselves and our team. And we think that, by doing this and going through that turmoil in the last game, it really forced the team to come together, focus on some big issues that they had in practice, and patch those up coming into this week. So I'm curious to see how Immortals looks, because week 1, they were so good. Week 2, really tough week for them. So I want to see where this team falls, because I really don't know yet. It looks like I was watching 2 different teams from week 1 to week 2.
It definitely does. And that's where, our spotlight comes in super heavily here for this matchup, because our spotlight is in the jungle. 2 of the main driving factors for these teams, and especially when you're looking over at Dignitas, XU, you already kind of alluded to it. This guy is the star for this team. He is what gets them off the ground running.
And for XU, so that kills plus assist at 14, that is the highest in his role as a jungler at 3.65. So I think that really speaks to how much he has been getting done in these early games. And there have been a couple games where XU has just gotten Lee Sin and ends the game at 5 minutes. It feels like he has won all 3 lanes, and going up against Chad is someone who is technically in the same scouting grounds class as XU as he technically was attending last year. I think it's a good matchup, as both of these players new to Academy, 2 junglers that we were pretty excited about coming into this year, and watching them now go toe-to-toe. I know that they have quite a bit of respect for each other, and I'm curious to see how that matchup ends up going, because Chad has also really been the one that's been bridging Immortals into their late games, where Arrow and Pretty are the ones primarily putting out all the damage given Concept's champion pool.
And you look at week 1 and how Chad was able to play in that. And he looked fantastic on Viego. He was all over the place. He was looking for level 3 ganks when a lot of other people would just power farm on Viego. But the big problem that I've seen for Chad is, like, you even look at his stats, they're good stats, but a lot of the issues in week 2 were when he didn't have Viego, when it was permanently banned away from him, so he had to play other champions, and he just didn't look as confident on those champions, not as big of an impact as he had previously.
That is a very interesting one. Well, we've given you our eyes on look for this first matchup between these 2 junglers, and I'm very excited to see it go through as our second series of the day is about to kick off. Fellas, take it away.
Thank you, Lennon. Always good having you here on the desk with us to help break down these games and get us excited for our second series here. Dignitas taking on Immortals, and I want to see how this draft is going to go between the 2 teams. I already talked about Chad's Viego. We saw Viego permanently banned in the previous series, and I'm expecting to see that same trend go here and try to see what Chad's going to be able to pull off. And you talked about learning from those defeats and what they can bring into week 3.
And as we kind of painted early, in our conversation about this matchup, it's weird because Dignitas, I feel like I want to talk about them a lot just because they have been such a pleasant surprise. I think that the form they've been in has been a lot stronger than what we thought coming into the season. we thought that Eclipse would be a weak spot in the top lane. He's actually been playing pretty well, holding his own and playing team fights in a way that I think has really helped his team follow up, whether he's on that Gwen or on the Gragas, 2 picks that he has been leaning in towards early in the season. Whereas Immortals, I feel like I want to talk more about them just because I don't know which team we're going to see. They were so good in week 1. They were playing as a squad. They had these good compositions planned out. And week 2, they didn't get the Viego. The Victor from Pretty was denied in a few extra games, and it felt like things fell apart for them at the scenes. So I really want to see what ends up happening this week and what we get out of Immortals. Joey was teasing more comps that they felt comfortable with. Want to see if we see that in draft.
As we see here with the draft, Viego banned away, Twisted Fate, but Gwen Zeri from Immortals and Corki Karma leaving up that Caitlyn that we've been seeing as one of the prize picks that a lot of people have been wanting to deny, but the new champion taking priority away from that ban. Interesting to see that Spawn's getting this champion. I want to see what JJ wants to play into this lane, especially if it might be that Aphelios Thresh that is also available.
JJ has only played Nautilus and Karma so far this season, so I have a feeling we might see that broken, especially given the Karma ban. I think that Lux is the go-to for Dignitas, as I know that we spent a lot of time talking about XU going into this matchup. I think that Spawn has gone really under the radar and how well he has been playing in this early split. I know that he was known for his team fight positioning. I think this lethal tempo meta that we're seeing with ADs has really helped give Spawn the spotlight, and he has been playing very well in some of these team fights as we move into the later stages of the game. And he's not falling behind in lane as much as he was last year, which is a good improvement for Spawn's gameplay, something that he really needed to do to round out his skill set. Good to see him getting some more leads in the early games this year.
So instead of getting the Thresh, Chad grabs this Jarvan, but XU's Lee Sin has been left open. And with that, however, it's locked in for XU. I expected to see that be the pick.
This is his most played and highest, or I think second most played, but highest win rate champ that he has in his career. And it was the champ that he took that game on the big stage in the LCS knock-in tournament. So always a treat to see XU's Lee Sin. I know that as we tease, both junglers do have a lot of respect for each other as we go toe-to-toe. Really where we're keeping our eyes at in this matchup, given the start to the season that XU's had and how important Chad is for making sure Immortals gets to the later stages. And I teased that we may not see JJ on the Nautilus again, but that seems to be the pairing.
Yeah, that's why it surprised me a bit. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I was just kind of thrown off by that. I expected to see maybe the Lux come in from JJ just to change it up. But instead of going for that comp pick, going for something that still can get the follow-up coming in from a Caitlyn trap, get the root after you get the dredge line to connect, then you get the auto attack, trap underneath, lock in headshot, it all works out. But then with Joey playing this Leona on the other side, there's always like pushback where you can try to see if you can be the first one to look for the catch onto the AD carry.
Looks like on the side of Immortals, something that we always have to look out for is Concept's champion pool.
Aww.
And something that Immortals is pretty unique when it comes to their drafts is a lot of the times Concept is blinding top on 4, given that he is primarily a tank player. And I know it's something that you've really delved into, Mad Magical, talking about Concept.
Yeah, I gotta talk to Concept recently. We haven't released that content just yet, but we'll have to keep our eyes out for that. But seeing this Mundo ban from Concept, the respect that they're giving over to him on this champion, it's one of his most played just in his career. You look back to how he has been throughout his entire history of League of Legends. And if he goes back almost as long as I do, way back into the younger days of Season 2, playing this game. It's only until recently he's been getting into competitive, just starting last year, in fact. And seeing that he's already making that much of a statement where people are like, hey, we don't want to even deal with his Mundo on the competitive stage is a big statement for how good he plays those tanks in the top lane.
And it's going to be the same strat for Immortals, so that blind Scion on 4, having Pretty and Arrow be those really big carries. This does give Eclipse the opportunity to answer. We did see the Aatrox from Philip get the best of Immortals in the second match, or I believe the last match that we had on the B stream. It could be an option for Eclipse, as we don't see a ton of Aatrox, but it is a great matchup into Scion. I like the fact that Dignitas are hovering that, but looks like Darkwings, he is forced to blind pick. It will be one of the champions that he is very comfortable with in the mid lane, as that is the Azir.
see, I would much prefer the set that had been briefly
I like
covered
Set in the
by
Scion as well.
JJ, because I love Set into tanks. It's such a great bully into these champions to really put the hurt back. But if they do end up going for the Aatrox that had been played in both games by Philip against Concept, when Concept played Scion in game 1, they played that Aatrox, and then game 2 into Wukong.
Play the Vigar.
I mean, I would like it. I like my Vigar, but I'm just curious to see what they want to go into with this Azir that had been picked up by Darkwings. We kind of skipped over that because we were talking about
Vigar's good here.
Going up against Scion in a Concept, and I agree. I actually kind of like that. Instead, though, they're going for more of a comfort pick out of Pretty with this LeBlanc.
Getting that mid-jungle priority is something that Immortals putting a little bit more emphasis on with this draft. I like the Vigar because you have Aatrox that wants to jump in. It helps deny the mobility of both Lee Sin and Azir. But Pretty, this LeBlanc for him, it's been a pick where he feels like very comfortable on this. He obviously gets to see the pick of Darkwings. And I think that mid-jungle duo for Immortals is really key in making sure that they can get that lane priority mid and snowball that into Arrow. Because given the fact that Concept is primarily that tank meatball in the front line, getting your marksman ahead for Immortals is a very important, even more important for this team than most. So I want to see if Chad and Pretty can take whatever lead they are able to find in this 2v2 mid lane, transition that to bot, and set Arrow up for success as this game goes on.
Then you look on the flip side. You look at XU getting his Lee Sin, and we know how aggressive XU can be on this champion. You just think back to last week, day 1, when they played against Cloud9 and got that immediate early kill in game 2 to get XU pretty much snowballing out of control at 5 minutes. If he's able to pull off that kind of statement here in this first game against Immortals, doesn't matter if you have Chad and Pretty tag teaming together, you're not going to be able to stop XU.
And XU has been someone that is so exciting in the early season. Actually, yesterday, we just sat down with him, me and Smacks, one of the Wild Rift casters. Someone else does some of the amateur casting with the Proving Grounds pod. XU, a wild story that he shared, dropped out of school to pursue League full-time. He was a computer science major at UC Berkeley, had a conversation with his brother saying, I don't know if I can pursue League and school full-time. His brother said, eventually you're going to have to choose one. 8 a.m. the next day, XU drops out of school. 3 weeks later, hits top 25 challenger.
Wow.
Went to Scouting Grounds. When he made that post, got a bunch of retweets. He had a great year with C9 Amateur. And once he got picked up from that, went to Scouting Grounds, now on Dignitas. So the trajectory of this player, pretty cool. And on the flip side, Chad, he went from playing in solo queue to winning all of Proving Grounds with 100 Thieves Academy in less than 3 months. That is his competitive experience. So that's why we're so excited about these two junglers in the early season, why we have a big spotlight on them here in week 3.
I mean, just looking across the board, this is one of the reasons why I'm so excited about this year in Academy. Because you can even make those arguments for Eclipse and Concept top lane, too. You look at these players. I talked about how Concept just joining competitive last year. Eclipse not having the biggest statement in the previous year either, but now look at how they're performing. Concept still maintaining his consistent, unique champion pool, something that a lot of teams now have to play around, knowing that he is going to play something that you're not quite prepared for, while Eclipse being someone who likes to carry, who wants to be this aggressive force for the top lane of Dignitas, and has been able to follow up XU when he goes for those aggressive plays.
They gave Pretty the ward kill, so level 2 on the first wave. Both junglers pathing top to bot. Makes sense. And something that favors Dignitas in that top lane matchup.
That's right now, not going to see too much for some time, even though there is an attempted play coming in from JJ on Joey there. Just going to be a little bit of damage back and forth. Aftershock is available for Joey, so he'll be able to tank up a lot of damage that can come in from either Spawn or JJ. And since it's only level 1 for either side, it's going to be about who gets level 2 first and getting control of that bot lane.
I like how Darkwing's stepping into this minion wave to make sure Pretty can't connect with the chain, in case that was the spec for level 2. Good punish from Darkwings, as we did mention this year. Very much a comfort pick for Darkwings. Something that he's always very comfortable on, and oftentimes pulled out, given his time with both Zeus and AoE in the amateur circuit this last year. Managed to qualify for Proving Grounds in both. Very impressive as a mid laner, and very flexible as a player. Last year, he had 20 unique champions in 41 games. This year, he's only played the Silas twice and the Vex. So 6 unique champions in 8 games off to that start. And Azir, also a repeat, as he puts that up to 2.
Now, you talked about Spyrex last game where he barely missed out on scouting grounds just because he had too many champions. Wasn't there a similar story for
Yes.
Darkwings on
It
that
was
as well?
the same thing, yes.
Yeah, because I'm like, I remember that being for Darkwings. He's played so many champions, but look at this bot lane. Chad.
First move. He has snuck in here. He dodged out on that ward. Good pathing from him. Here comes the play.
Joey. They've got the cleanser already out of spawn, but he still has flash available.
TP?
TP behind, coming in from Eclipse. They re-engage. They get the first blood onto Joey, but XU is on the side, looking to see who he can get. And that was a deep TP from Eclipse. And keep in mind, with the changes to TP, he couldn't have gone any further.
Well, Eclipse had that wave crashed in the top side, so he really doesn't lose much in terms of resources for that TP, but this will enable Concept to not burn his when he gets back in the lane, so it means that Dignitas has to force him out of the top side twice if they want to get something, and a big win and a great first move from Chad. Good communication from the bot lane of Immortals. Saw that trinket drops in that bush. Chad's able to navigate around it with the creative pathing from Jarvan, and it cashes out big for Immortals.
And Chad continues to play for that level 3 gank bot lane. We have seen this time and time again out of this player this year. And here on the Jarvan, looking far better than what we had seen in week 2. This looks like the week 1 Chad that we know and love.
Joey going for more.
Hex Flash, body blocked by that dredge line. Going to be a root for root. Nobody wanting to go too much further since they don't have the backup of the jungle, nor do they have that damage to really be able to punish just yet.
XU, the contest, somewhat successful as he's trying to catch up after that first move from Chad. And to be fair to the side of Immortals and Chad, oh boy.
Arrow flashing forward with the Gravitum. They got only a little bit of damage onto Spawn and JJ. Keep in mind, Spawn never used that flash in that previous fight.
I just love how aggressive IMT are playing, and it's on a freeze, as this is a terrible lane state for Dignitas, and looking back towards that bot lane, this is going to force XU to make an appearance to try and break where the lane's at right now.
Well, and you talked about top lane, where Eclipse, he had to go top lane, he had to walk the whole way, they had to maybe go for a couple ganks on the concept that they wanted to burn that TP, but then bot lane having a similar story, where there's attention that is needed to make sure they can get this lane back. They pull back in Joey, he doesn't have the flash available, only a little bit of damage from Arrow since he has no mana to be able to back up, so they can give a kill over to Spawn.
Really nice move from XU, sneaking into that brush as he gets that bot lane recovered. Spawn should hold the wave and base. Arrow's going to stick around to try and greed. And Eclipse, talk about that top lane priority. Eclipse has been moving a lot. Sometimes we see Aatrox just hang under the turrets and try and land harass onto the Scion, but each time Eclipse has crashed a wave, he's been going elsewhere, trying to make sure his other lanes are okay on this map.
Well, that was interesting there from Pretty. Pulling out the cannon from the turret to force a freeze here mid lane. He saw Eclipse on the sideline, knew that Aatrox was nearby, but he wasn't really too threatened by him. And getting this freeze forces Darkwings to now have to play far back because Joey and Chad are both waiting to see if they can spot him out with a Flag and Dragon like that. Even though Emperor's Divide and Flash are available for Darkwings, it's still a lot of damage forcing out this Azir.
Now he's going to try and go for the fruit. He does have the dash.
There it is.
Okay. A little bit risky going for that EQ, but Darkwings, we did mention, very comfortable on the Azir, showing it there.
Hey, he's comfortable on a lot of champions, not too worried about how he's going to be able to play that. Plus, having Flash and Emperor's Divide available, not too worried about what was going to happen. But unfortunately, with him being forced out so far and not having TP, this dragon is conceded over to Immortals. They have control if they want to actually get it, but instead, they want to get Spawn, but he still has that Flash.
I love how Immortals are playing around this bot lane as when the waves shove out. Now, Arrow is going to opt to shove in this wave to create that dragon timer. Immortals had 2 options there, though. They could have let the wave shove out for Dignitas and then went for a 4v2 play. Instead, they opt to shove the wave. Pretty goes back to get some harass mid, and they take the dragon.
Free dragon for Immortals, starting them off pretty hot in this game. Giving them a lot of free time around this bottom half of the map. Getting Joey to invade Pretty. He's got full control of the mid lane as well, so he might be able to get a plate.
I love the focus that Immortals has had on their 2 big carries this game. And the credit to Concept, I know that early TP and the roams from Eclipse he gave up some creeps for that, but Concept, he is a big, tank. And he can stat check the rest of Dignitas, especially given the fact that Spawn is a little bit behind on this Caitlyn, even despite the kill. So I think Concept getting all the resources in this early game, it's going to make things very difficult for Dignitas to execute this composition as time goes on. They're going to have to be very particular about how they engage against this Aphelios.
And especially you look at what he's already looking to build. That Bramble Vest early, an expected item for a tank,
what a
sure.
hook.
That's going to help him out as bot lane. A heal out of Arrow gets a lot of damage back onto JJ
Chad's
as
here.
well, with Joey re-engaging. Chad's nearby. He's got Cataclysm available if he wants to flag and drag right on top of this Nautilus. There it is, the flash forward. Just going to be able to dunk right on top of him for a free kill.
He should pull the wave. IMT can look to answer, and this is a great response to the Rift Herald take from Dignitas. As
I like
Spawn's...
that.
Ooh!
I like that from
That
Spawn.
might be enough.
I think that's enough to be able to force out JJ, even though he has that
That's
red
big.
gun available. He does not want to go anywhere near Spawn, and that denies any plates going over.
I love the fact you bring that up, Mad Magical, because this was the response play from Immortals. While all this was going on in the bot side, XU took that Rift Herald for free, and Immortals didn't respond with plates to arrows. So, yes, they have a 1k gold lead. I like the idea from Chad, but Dignitas able to hold just strong enough to ensure that Arrow doesn't get that free gold in his pocket.
Because you have to deny this Aphelios as much as possible. You don't want him to get out of control and be the one they can build around. You talked about Chad and Pretty. At some point, they are going to make a play together in this bot lane to keep facilitating Arrow, to keep him getting ahead. Right now, he's doing pretty good. He's even on CS. He's got a couple assists, even if there's a kill or spawn. It's still going to be difficult after a point for Caitlyn to actually punish Aphelios.
And you're just talking about the Aphelios, not even the Scion.
No, it's like,
that's what I'm worried
look,
about.
Look, we already know how that's going to go. That ain't going to look too well. It's nice dodge there from Pretty with the flash, but he could
Nice
not
hook.
dodge the dredge line. He's going for the re-engage.
Chad's here.
JJ's now going to be rooted up. Chad's nearby, but he doesn't have the dunk available. Still a little bit of time until that's back off of cooldown.
Immortals, intelligent of them to not go in, as they did not see XU. I like the fact that Dignitas at least trying to find a play on Pretty and protect Darkwings, who I must say I have not seen the ability haste boots on an Azir with the Null Magic Mantle. So Darkwings really trying to protect himself early, make sure that he has enough abilities up to make sure he can contest Pretty. As Joey, Zenith Blade sidestepped by the side of XU, and Spawn really has to be respectful of the guns that Arrow is showing at the moment, as he knows that if he doesn't have his team hovering him and Arrow connects with one of those, could be lethal.
And right now, we see this is where Caitlyn tends to always struggle. You know, everyone always talks about the trough, the power trough that Caitlyn's have.
Yep.
I'm not too worried about Spawn when he has JJ by him, but it's when JJ leaves and rotates elsewhere that it's going to be an issue.
I think it's good you bring that up, because the trough happens when you're not able to get Caitlyn plates. And because of the focus that Immortals has had on this bot lane, and the fact they can just leave Concept in the top lane all alone, it has prevented Dignitas from pushing forward. It's a good buffer from JJ, gets him out of that one.
He'll be fine for now, but that's going to be the Moonlight Vigil. Explosive damage, trying to force him out of the lane. Again, looking for more plates out of Immortals. This time, not too threatened by that ace in the hole that is available for Spawn, since both members of the spot lane are very healthy with Chad backing them up, so they can easily take some free gold.
And just a brute force coming out from Immortals, as that's 2 plates now to the wayside. That equals what Dignitas are guaranteed with Shelly. I'm curious to see what XU does with Shelly, is going out of
Same here.
Pretty.
Was looking for that kick, got the minion, but wasn't able to get nearby enough to Pretty.
Gonna
The
drop
big
it.
thing I actually am looking at, XU, this is a very passive early game that we are seeing out of him. Normally, we see this Lee Sin. He's the one making these early plays, but Chad is running circles around him at the moment.
That level 1, or I should say first gank that Chad had, very creative getting around that ward. And it's really put Dignitas on the back foot, as XU has just been forced to respond to crashing waves, has only been able to make one proactive play, which was very nice in the bot lane, to at least try and slow down the snowball that Immortals were putting onto Arrow. When you have this Scion, it makes things pretty easy for the side of Immortals. They know we can leave Concept alone up top. Pretty is self-sufficient mid with the counter pick. We just need to attack this bot lane. That's exactly what they've been doing.
And they're only getting 2 plates, too, from that
Onto
Shelly
XU.
charge onto
Yeah.
XU. Now, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was saying none of that was on to Spawn, who they needed the plates to go to.
And looks like Immortals are trying to set up for the Dragon. As I say that, they're just going to get a nice reset. Instead, still a somewhat slow early game. As we've been going deeper into the Academy season, Mad Magical, it feels like these teams starting to figure out a few more things early. We've had some slower games.
More respect as well. I feel like a lot of the teams are giving more respect to their competition. Even though they're trying to attempt these plays, they're not fully forcing and coin flipping. Dignitas, the team that was coin flipping weeks 1 and 2.
Hold on.
That really, hey, they've really slowed
Burger
things
flipping.
down in a great burger. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. NFL has coin flips. We have burger flips.
That's fair. You know what? I mean, now you're just making me hungry. Now I just want a burger.
It is past lunchtime for Mad
Exactly.
Magical. You had to get the food before the show started, as for Immortals, things are still going rather smoothly at the start of this game. Second Dragon picked up by IMT, and a good roll of the Soul, as it is the Hextech Gates now hitting the Rift.
Ooh. Though I will say, each time I've seen the Hextech Rift, it seems like it backfires on whatever team actually utilizes those gates. So
Bit of a learning curve still.
Yeah, hopefully we won't see too much of that this game, instead just utilizing the Soul itself.
Do want to highlight, after that Dragon, Chad has flipped his pathing. Now, pathing bot top, and it's Desync's pathing. XU has snuck into this bot lane. IMT, if they play for this wave, could be dangerous.
I like
That
this coming in
misses.
from XU. Nice kick, too, on an arrow, so they can follow up
Wow.
and immediately blow him up with the re-engage onto Joey. But Chad being in the wings, it's just going to be that free kill for Dignitas.
The Spidey senses were tingling from Arrow, but XU got into the brush further up, dodged out on everything, gets the kill. Spawn's going to pick up the first turret. Should be the response here for Dignitas, and XU now, a little bit of trouble.
This is interesting out of Immortals. They lose bot lane, they lost Arrow, but yet they still find XU in his jungle.
We're trying to contest on the Concept, as Eclipse did get the blue buff. Concept forced to flash out. XU wasn't able to pick up that red buff given how far up Spawn was, and now Spawn, that's first turret, but at what cost?
Probably his own life is what I'd have to guess, even though he has the flash available. He had already used the cleanse. They're waiting it out. They know that this is going to be a free kill, and Pretty wants to take it for himself.
IMT feeding that over to Pretty. Joey, I know that before the game, I was kind of asking Joey, you know, what his hopes or goals were for 2022, and he had a pretty unique answer. He said, you know what, my goal, I really want to see Pretty and Arrow get a shot in LCS. He's like, these guys are so good. This might be the first time I've played with a true strong side AD carry in Arrow, and he's, I don't know, it's like the true support move, you know, rooting for your teammates to try and make it. Like to see him also setting up his teammates for success in this game, as Joey 1-1-3 on the trusty Leona. Good start to the game for him.
And he's already getting kills onto one of the carries. Getting 2 kills now for Pretty. Going to help them out. And I actually like that you talked about Arrow and Pretty, because I know Mark, Rafa, has been really talking a lot about Pretty and how great this mid laner is. He has kind of been overshadowed by a lot of other players that have played for Immortals Academy in the past. But here, this year, we've seen he's already gotten the Caston pentakill last week. And here on this LeBlanc is looking pretty good. Already getting these early kills, stacking up the Dark Seal to try to see if he can get even more kill potential so he can continue to flake. And I need to see him keep that momentum going into these team fights.
Everyone from Immortals, I mean, thinking last year into this year, has always spoken very highly of Pretty and his play. A lot of it, what I like a lot about Pretty's play, oftentimes very consistent outside of lanes, as nice attempt on the spawn, but dodged out on a couple teams.
All right. Is this a wet noodle fight? Does this quantify as a wet noodle fight if Concept is the one actually doing a lot of damage to Eclipse and consistently fighting him back, even though both of them have now used their ultimates? That Bramble Vest is coming in clutch for Concept. Another knock-up with the Decimating Smash, as Eclipse is burning, but he's not going to die here. Concept doesn't really care because now he's won this lane.
Concept on the tanks, man. This is some of, I should say, the price of Eclipse making a few of those early roams. Usually we see Aatrox very far ahead in this matchup, but because Eclipse burned that first TP to go bot, because we saw Eclipse use some of those crashes to try and hover mid, that matchup's even on the top side, and Concept played that 1v1 really well. I know that we kind of joke about tanks being wet noodles and some lack of mechanics, but Concept trading those knockups beautifully, showing his expertise on the Scion, ends up cashing out pretty big. Eclipse has to burn the TP to this turret if they want to keep it alive.
One of my favorite things Concept said when I talked to him recently was why he likes to play these tanks top lane. He's like, you know, his mechanics are so-so, especially when you play tanks. It's like you're not going to be able to out-mechanic your opponents, but you can out-strategize your opponents. You can always have the upper hand when it comes to strategy and what you're playing with your team, how you're setting up everyone else. And here, making sure this Aatrox isn't getting out of control, so then he can be that front line for the rest of his squad, so it will be pretty, and arrow carrying is exactly what he's doing.
And I want to see if Concept can be that strong frontliner. I think that he had some nice engages on the Scion last week, but also a couple team fights where he was engaged upon first and in the wrong position. And that really cost Immortals as their 0-4. Of course, the week 2 0-4, bit unfortunate, but Immortals are off to a much better start in this game, giving Dig a good run for their money. We're TPing to help this Rift Herald get in.
Trying to make sure they can escort Shelly for the charge. Solar Flare goes wide, but it's going to be the pullback in. XU, he's rooted for so long, and here comes the choo-choo train right into the back line. The flash away with an Ignite burning on his head as well. Darkwing's not going to get anything on here. Chad's still alive, but it's going to be the flash in for Eclipse to pick up the kill, and he's got his World Ender. If he wants to go for anything further, they've got damage on it Pretty, but he ports back with the distortion to stay alive.
Well played from Dignitas as Eclipse, a credit to him. We talked about Concept positioning correctly, buying space. He 1v4 that fight as IMT. Pretty's gone.
That's a big loss there too. They can easily pick up their first dragon of the game for Dignitas having caught that pick. JJ on point with that dredge line to root him forever.
And IMT overextending, trying to fight for this upcoming dragon as pushing past that choke. Bit of a mistake coming out of the Immortal squad. This does grant Dignitas their first dragon, buying themselves some time, but also giving them a big foothold on the map as we get the replay. The engage on the XU, he's able to live and kick himself out, and then watch Eclipse in the response. He just zones everyone away with the help of Darkwings. As it's Concept versus the world, Eclipse picks up the reset. Now everyone's chasing him. Buys enough time for the Dignitas backline to reposition. Then the overextension and the chokes, the bonus kill that gets them that dragon.
And so where everything was before, where Concept had been able to kind of neutralize the top lane threat, is now out the window. Eclipse is 2-0 on this Aatrox, and he is looking very scary with how he is able to position himself far forward.
IMT looking to bounce back quickly as Joey catches Eclipse.
There's going to be another World Ender, but look at Chad on the other side. Chad just gets blown up by JJ. Eclipse takes all the attention of Immortals. They all are focused on to Aatrox, trying to kill him, but they cannot slay the beast. He escapes, and the re-engage can be there from Dignitas. They can chase down Immortals, who are so far extended inside of their jungle. That's going to be the ace in the hole. They've got the pull back in, and they're going to be able to get this kill onto Arrow easily for XU to follow it up with a double kill from XU onto Joey. Pretty, he's got a little bit of damage, but it's going to be the kick back onto Concept, drag back in, and finished off by Darkwings.
In the post-fight for Immortals, immediately returning to the play when you don't have numbers, a bit of an overextension, and they're not respecting the vision that Dignitas had on their side of the jungle. And part of the reason why things went so wayward is because of that vision and because Chad was just focused down immediately.
Darkwings has that Emperor's Divide. He could have gone a little bit further if he wanted to actually kill Pretty, but he let him escape, forcing him out. And we look back to the replay of this fight, and like we were saying, it's just
one shot.
Yeah, Immortals are also so far overextended.
He didn't have Cataclysm, he didn't have EQ all. It seems like IMT just trying to play this game a bit too quickly when they still have that Ophelio scaling, and look at how deep they are in the 4v5 where Dignitas has the numbers advantage. They're just waiting for Darkwings to get here. And I love the patience from JJ, picking the right spot, the flash into Joey Arrow. That actually split up the fight really nicely for the side of Dig. And I know that for JJ, he's someone that he really is the true veteran of this team. I know that they, jokingly but also lovingly kind of call him Mama Juan. And JJ, keep in mind last year, this roster for Dignitas, it started off with both Lorlo and Acadian in the roster, two very seasoned players that we have. And, JJ said, it's been a pleasant transition going from someone who was the learner to kind of the mentor for everyone else on the squad. He said, I learned a lot from Lorlo and Acadian and how they helped me out and trying to implement that and helping the three young guys they have on Dignitas. It's been something that's been really fun for JJ as they all have brought a different approach to the game. And not to mention the good vibes they got in the team house. I think if you've been watching Academy, you've been missing out on the Dignitas post-game interviews, you should probably go give them a follow on Twitter and check that out. It's been some high-quality content.
Oh, look, if you're following Academy and you somehow missed out on their content, you're not watching Academy truly, because they have some of the most banger content out there from any of the Academy squads right now. We can take a look back towards this Baron. Dignitas don't even need to start it. They have a really good Baron take too, though. With Azir, Caitlyn, they can melt through that really easily. They don't have to at the moment. They just need to set up around control, forcing Immortals into their hand, because if Immortals overextend like they did it in that previous fight, this game is done.
And Dignitas just waiting for the Hextech Dragon to spawn. We do have a $110 away from that. I think importantly, Spawn just picked up that LDR.
Yeah.
We talked about Concept being the stat check. That's going to help. The Concept's still really tanky, but, you know, we take the percent armor pen.
Also saying that XU's got that Death Dance in his inventory. Eclipse building towards that as well, just to make sure if these fights continue to go on, that there will be long, drawn-out battles, especially against someone like Pretty who wants to assassinate the backline.
And important for IMT, they're actually seeding this dragon, saying, you know what, Dignitas has gotten really good positioning. We're just going to escort Pretty, make sure that we can take this top outer for ourselves. I don't think they're going to contest this dragon. Should go over to the side of Dignitas for free.
Honestly, I respect that.
Yep.
There's not really a good fight that you're going to have. We talked about how Dignitas are more setting up to force Immortals to play overextended into their hands. Might as well just get a little bit of gold for someone like Pretty on the side lanes. You need to get some of these second items. They're still working towards that. They've got all their mythics across the board, but they're not at that point to really be able to crack against Dignitas.
Pretty did cancel the base to make sure that wave got in. Darkwings is responding, but does have the empowered teleport. Try and get to this dragon, and it's full control for Dignitas and a seed from Immortals as the setup from
Look
them
at the pings.
pays off.
I'm seeing pings onto the Baron. Immortals,
No.
they don't know.
They just want
to. Yeah, you know, I was wondering if they go for the Hail Mary play,
Please
but then I
don't.
look at their composition, and it's like, how the hell are they going to take that in any reasonable time?
Instead, we just get a quiet map state, Mad Magical, as Dignitas still farming up. I will say, I don't love talking about items and focusing on these, but I do like the Death Stance coming out from Dignitas. It is a good item into 80 heavy teams, and it provides a surprising amount of healing for Aatrox and Lee Sin, who already have quite a bit. So, I like the spec from Dig.
Same.
We have a reset coming out, and it should just be a return to the map state. As Pretty actually going to stop those recalls. Arrow, he's alone.
I was going to say, the thing is, did you really want to stop those recalls? Because now Arrow is in a bad spot. Nice kick, XU, the fancy feet, but Arrow's still alive on the other side to try to see if they can re-engage back on top of him with the Eclipse. They've got Eclipse to pick up the kill, but they've lost XU. They were able to get Chad as well. Joey's going to be the next casualty because Eclipse can continue to chase this one down. Easy dunk on top of him.
And that's some of the struggle that IMT has going up against Dignitas, is that Aatrox so good in the champions that jump into you. That's exactly what Immortals has to do to try and peel Arrow. It was a good Cataclysm and attempt from Chad, but they lose 3. XU will happily trade out his life for that. As Dignitas, they want this middle inhibitor turret.
They can set this one up easily for themselves, then back off. Try to see if they can set up around the Baron, force Immortals to continually play into their court and their hands.
I want to take another look at that team fight if we can see it, because it was a mess in the Cataclysm. But Eclipse was doing so much damage and healing as we take a second look. Arrow can't be at this wave without a hover. Joey was trying to reset bot, so it's split from IMT. The engage goes in. Arrow gets shut down. It was a good peel attempt from Immortals and Chad, but Eclipse, man, we kind of jokingly call the Cataclysm the Thunderdome. It really feels like Eclipse kind of turned that into his own Thunderdome, as he was just doing so much AoE damage on this Aatrox.
And now he's 4-1-4 on Aatrox from a lane state that had been completely null for both of them, Eclipse and Concept. Now sitting high on his throne, truly the winner of the Thunderdome, as you had talked about, where not really many people are going to be able to stop him. They've got double Bramble Vest on the side of Immortals, but I don't even see that being enough to stop all the healing and damage that Eclipse can lay down.
This is a good timer for Dignitas, and I want to see how hard they push this, because as you, I think, intelligently teased earlier, Mad Magical, the Baron take for them is really quick. You have a Caitlyn, you got a Leandri's Azir.
Yeah.
I really want to see if Dignitas can set this up. Now, IMT has snuck in a couple wards in the pit, but thank you to our observers for this vision toggle. It's only spotted now, and IMT is on a full reset. It's already at half. I don't know if they can get here in time.
Pretty has CP, but Concept does not. He has to
Concept's
use the
gotta press
choo-choo
R.
train to be
It's
able to
dead.
enter in. It's going to be taken before they can even answer. The Dredge Line into the back line,
Look at
and
JJ.
Concept himself jumping in onto spawn. They're getting a little bit of damage onto Concept, but he's trying to see if he can survive long enough so his team can get the kill on Eclipse on the other side, who's been doing so
JJ.
much work to make sure they can try to kite it back out. They've gotten the kill onto the Beast himself. Raid Boss is conquered. XU might be the next one. He's got a heal, but Arrow this entire time has been laying waste to Dignitas. It doesn't matter if you have the Baron when you don't have the top lane to be able to back it up.
JJ was buying so much time in the choke, but when Eclipse and Axu engaged in there, Dignitas wasn't able to follow up because Pretty was keeping them busy in the back line, and Immortals finally set up that front to back they need with Arrow. He was able to do all the damage necessary to at least counter the Baron being taken, but if I'm Dignitas, I'm still happy with this trade.
As am I. And you take a look at this replay, it first off starts with JJ denying Concept even getting into the pit in the first place.
I like how XU just immediately knows, I need to jump out, just stop them from getting into the pit. This is ours. And look at all the time that JJ bought in the backside. I think if Eclipse and actually go over the wall, they just murder Pretty in Concept. But instead, they try and take the fight. It's a bit of an overextension from the side of Dignitas. And Immortals setting up that front to back, finally punished.
Also, the fact that Arrow is virtually untouched throughout
Yes.
most of that fight. They had used so much of the CC to try to see if they can jump on Arrow at all, and they couldn't even get near him.
We have to get back into the game state quickly because we're 30 seconds away from this dragon spawning. It is sole point on the table for both teams. Immortals have done a good job of getting priority in this bot lane, but it's the fast track from Dignitas. And Dignitas, I don't know if they're bluffing or not, but either way, Immortals, they're hitting reset as that inhibitor is open, and Dignitas, they want it for themselves.
Here come Immortals to try to see if they can defend their structures.
Concept.
Only a little bit of damage poked out. Concept cannot get near enough to actually charge down the back line of Dignitas. The Dragon, like you said, is going to spawn, and Dignitas are already there with the TP coming in from Darkwings.
And Dignitas made the play. Immortals didn't call their bluff. I think they fell for it. Really got themselves out of position for a dragon that they could have contested. I will say that Dignitas, the carries, do have Baron buff, so I don't mind the fact that Immortals are seeding this, but they ended up getting bluffed out by Dig. This goes over for free, and now Immortals, that next dragon, they don't have the choice to see that one. They must fight.
No. They have to see if they can get any control back on this bottom half of the map. But there will be the Baron spawning up beforehand. There's a lot that Dignitas can do to force Immortals to play into their hands. First off, it starts with taking out these outer structures and getting more gold into their inventories.
Eclipse Pretty brawling a bit on this side. Pretty does get the best of that one as Eclipse has spec armor.
Yeah, for now at least, the one thing about Eclipse should be able to heal back up pretty easily, while the rest of Dignitas are trying to lay siege down in this bot lane.
Concept just got the ultimate back up, so I think Dignitas, I don't know if they're pulling back because that Baron's about to expire or because they timed that Scion ultimate, but I think an intelligent retreat from Dig as Concept fishing to see if he can find anyone. Not recalling with the team, but Dignitas will escape. Good team reset coming out from them to play back out on the map, and 6k gold lead. Immortals, I feel like their angle to come back, Pretty's got to one-shot someone, or Dignitas has to overcommit into Arrow. I think those are the two big things that Immortals are looking for at the moment.
And the thing is, the only one they can really even hope to be able to one-shot is going to be Spawn. If you can pick out Spawn, it's going to be huge, but Pretty gets himself caught out and gets himself picked by Spawn.
JJ's just waiting for Pretty, and Pretty, that's a big overextension. The rest of your team's in the mid lane, and now Eclipse trying to fight.
World Ender gets himself in the back line, heals up a lot with the Gore Drinker, but he overextended that time. 1 for 1 all this time with a huge shield on Chad. He's still alive. The flash
Nice
shield was able to survive. Looking at Concept now into the pit, into this fight, but unfortunately everyone else bailed on him.
Scion TP a little bit too deep, ended up getting rooted, chained up. Dignitas end up walking away with both soul laners. This is certainly the inhibitor falling, but the real question is, do they push for more?
Well, they do have Caitlyn and Azir. They can
10
easily
seconds on
take
Pretty.
these
This is
turrets
risky.
really fast. They're trying to make the play happen. They're getting a lot of damage onto Chad on the other side. He's got Cataclysm available. The Darkwings is going to be able to Shurima Shuffle away. This turret's so close to going down, but they don't actually want to overextend. Like you said, Pretty is now up. Look at that deep TP. It is going to be spotted out. They could continue to chase.
I think IMT are going to try and push them as far back as they can, as they do have waves bouncing into them. Dignitas, They will be spotted by this control board that Darkwings is now clearing out. Pretty spotted as well. See if Immortals fishes.
Looking for them. They're still pretty far, and Eclipse doesn't have the TP. One Hex Tech gate is taken by Darkwings just to be able to eat the honey fruits. Well, Immortals now are a bit far out, and that's going to be the dash back away. Looking for Eclipse. The kick onto Pretty. He distortions back, and that's a huge shield on top of Chad. He's still alive with the solar flare as well. Going to be able to use the flag and drag, but Eclipse, he's got the damage to be able to follow up Chad as they already lost Joey on the other side. And Concept is way late to the party. Arrow's trying his best to fight back, but Darkwings makes sure he is not going to carry today. Concept, the tank, the last one in the front line here in this mid lane, gives up a double kill to Darkwings, and this game should be over.
Dignitas, the execution of this comp, they had one mistake in the mid game, but besides that, their ability to play around the Scion, find fights around that big meatball, I think it was the big difference in making sure that this game ended up going in their favor.
And they take a nice Game 1 victory here to start off our second series of the day in Week 3, Day 1. Dignitas didn't even bother with any coin flip. It was all about how they could play around Eclipse.
It wasn't only, I mean, Eclipse was just kind of on an island for 20 minutes, but Eclipse really made that cash out as the game went on. Yeah. I want to give a lot of credit to JJ. 1, 2, and 16 on this Nautilus. I think that his ability to buy space for the rest of his team and isolate those two big carries of Immortals was a big difference in making sure they were able to pilot around that Scion. And on the flip side for Immortals, I liked their early game plan, but they just took too many bad fights in the mid game. I'm thinking about that red buff invade. After they lost the initial fight, ended up having a 4v5 where they were pushing like past inner turrets where they didn't even have the outers yet. I think that made the game really difficult for Immortals, and ended up going to the side of Dig as they continue their strong start to the season, now moving to 6-3. That puts them in second place alone, just chasing CLG.
Doing a good job so far here in Week 3. We're going to toss to a break. When we come back, we'll have our halftime show, or the Prospective Academy. I think I said it better that time.
Oh, we got something
stick
else.
around. Oh, do we? Oh, well, everyone's going to have to stay after the break to see what happens.
Hello and welcome to Week 2 of the NA Talent Update. This past week, we saw the first Proving Grounds tournament come to an end as 100 Thieves Next were crowned our champions of amateur as they 3-0'd Golden Guardians Academy in the finals. They managed to pick up all 12 Drakes that spawned in the series, and this last fight before the last dragon is our Ravapog moment of the week.
Onto the Drake. They have Tony Top isolated as well. Now Iconic looking to go in as Tony Top dives in as well. Here comes the package and the knock up the backline. Chime trying to do it, but Sniper will take him down. Now running is going to be Tony Top, but Array is waiting in the wings to deliver. The pain goes gold. It doesn't even give Tony the time to get the damage in. Another shutdown goes through as Ray almost going to fall. Sniper able to back off in time, but Stixay has it.
Ooh, poggers. Week 2 of Academy saw things get a little bit upside down. Immortals went from a 4-0 Week 1 to an 0-4 Week 2, and CLG have solidified their spot in first as they're up 2 games on the field. How? Lucky for you at home, I've boiled it down to these 3 easy steps. Step 1, drawing.
Like his mouth. This is a grump for sure, can you tell?
It's a happy grump.
I like these squiggles.
Step 2, pump up speeches.
Dokla, I want to see the aggression from you, okay? I want you to make him feel like he's the 3rd best top laner in his family.
And step 3, well-balanced diet.
We have a chef now in Phil. That guy rocks. I had fresh ricotta today. It was made by him. It was awesome.
The NFL has their coin flips. We in NA, we've got burger flips. Cheese side up or cheese side down, for better or for worse. Let's see how some of our best flips of the week turned out.
2,500, 2,100. Birdie could go in with a stacked up Riftwalk if he wants to time it correctly. 100. Palafox will be able to secure the Baron.
And they are whittling this down fast. They get a lot down, but Armeo got chunked by that rocket. They gotta be careful. JJ's into the pit. Who's gonna get the smite? XU's gonna be the one to secure it with the kill on Armeo. It's a 1-for-1 now with the Realm Warp out.
Now for our meme review of the week, we have our resident meme expert and ex-Proving Grounds player, Really Big Meme.
Our first ever 10 out of 10 meme of the week, the Chemtech Soul. This thing is so broken and terrible for the game, it got removed, but you didn't remove it from Tournament Realm, we still got an amateur.
The Chemtech Dragon is not gone from us here. We're in 12.1 Tournament Realm. Hey, all it takes on that is the Gale Force. You click a button, you get a kill.
Nice work. That's a solid meme.
That's been episode 2 of the NA Talent Update. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, and may your week be filled with positive gaming experiences.